Greetings, beloved brothers and sisters. The explanation given in A Course in Miracles for how the state of consciousness that most people are living in came to be sounds bizarre at first. The notion that perfect beings, perfect creations from their Father would get this crazy idea of what would it be like to not be connected to the Father, and then manifest a world that reinforced that ridiculous idea until it became real is hard to believe at first. But the more you familiarize yourself with the workings of the mind and how the ego functions, the more sense it makes. And most students of the Course firmly believe in the unreality of fear and the permanence of God's love. And yet, that doesn't always free them to experience being the son of God or the daughter of God. It doesn't always, just understanding that doesn't always release them from the time-honored beliefs about their unworthiness, their lack of abundance, and all the other fears that are attendant to feeling separate. So after a time, people may wonder, okay, intellectually, I understand this. I even understand that I am the perfect child of God and there's nothing wrong. But that's not my experience. I experience worries and fears and self-doubt and concerns about my own survival and attachment to my body and everything else. So obviously, intellectual understanding, while a good start, does not give you the experience of the truth. Well, what does? What is required is that you actually exercise your sovereignty. Not just know that you are a sovereign being making choices, but use that sovereignty to choose again. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you choose for love, for God, for yourself. Recognize that you're not at peace and that you want to be at peace. And then stand into your power and choose differently. How do you get out of the rat race? Choose to exclude yourself from it. Choose not to participate in it. In the beginning, that just might mean separating yourself from things that obviously have an effect on your consciousness. If you've ever pulled up to a stoplight and have someone in the next lane pull up next to you with their windows down, playing very, very loud music with heavy bass, you can tell yourself that that's not real, but your chest is thumping with each bass note. Best to let that person pass you by. Or take a turn and move physically away from that. So some people do that. They stop listening to fearful news, tense television shows about murder and Armageddon. And that is a relief to a certain extent. But the real issue is not what impinges upon your senses from the outside, but what you're thinking and where you're placing your consciousness on the inside. It's a necessary but not sufficient condition of satisfaction to just remove yourself from noxious stimuli. What you must do is to choose differently, ask for help, and then use this sovereign power that you believe is yours now to choose love, to bring love and kindness and forgiveness to everything that you fear. This morning, this one awoke, and 3 issues quickly came to his mind that concerned him. They're the typical issues that concern most people. Concern about finances, concern about family, concern about relationships, and concern about one's own self-worth. And he could hear the conversation beginning to crank up. And he could feel where it was leading. Somehow he didn't do something right, should have done something differently, wasn't perfect. And then something miraculous happened. He had the thought to challenge the veracity of these issues. Am I really worthless? Is this really what I think it is? Do I know what anything is or anything is for? Maybe I don't. This is it. Release yourself from what you've been wed to by your own volition. Release yourself. Ask for help. But no one can release you until you release yourself from believing the lies that you've been told and continue to tell yourself for eons. It's as simple as that. I no longer believe this. I'm no longer so certain. I'm not so arrogant as to think I know what the truth is. I don't know what anything is or anything is for. But I deeply want peace and I want love. Anyway, this morning, peace came to him very quickly. The thoughts lay there in a disconnected state. And he experienced freedom from them. They were just lying there, inviting him to come back and get enmeshed. He didn't resist them. He just didn't believe them. And they lost their power and moved into the background. And he was in touch with a certain happiness, a freedom of not having to know what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad and what everything means. He was just aware of how wonderful it was to be alive, to draw breath, to have people that he loves and who love him. And what he felt was forgiveness for what he previously believed. The thoughts are still there to re-engage with anytime. Freedom is there. But sovereignty means making your own choices and taking responsibility for what you choose to believe and choose to think and choose to do with your time. You all have this power. And you all have the backing of love to make this choice and to reap the rewards of being who you really are. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.